Can everybody hear me? All right. All right, welcome everybody. It's 5:30 and we've got a full panel here. So I will call to order this Monday, February 2nd, 2026 meeting of the City of Madison Plan Commission. Director Tuttle, will you call the roll?
Yes, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Alder Field.
Here.
Alder Glenn. I see Alder Glenn.
Hi, I'm here.
Alder Ugair.
Here.
Commissioner Bazine.
Here.
Commissioner Heck.
Here.
Commissioner McCahill.
Here.
Commissioner Sanders.
Here.
Commissioner Solheim.
Here.
Alternate Wisniewski is excused. School District Rep Chiek.
Here.
And Chair Gnam.
Here. Thanks. Thanks, Megan. We will start out with information from our technical facilitator, Jesse Poole.
All right, welcome to our virtual Plan Commission meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Panelists, use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who registered to speak. The name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the committee, please send it in the email listed in today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jesse. Our agenda item number 1 is our time for public comment. Regarding items not on the formal Plan Commission agenda, and Director Tuttle, do we have registrants for item 1?
This evening, Chair, we do have Alder Figueroa Cole, who's registered neither in support nor in opposition and available to answer questions. There's not a specific item for that, so I don't know if you want to just check with the Alder about that registration or not.
Yep, Alder, I see you're here. So
I was looking for the link. Thank you, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, so you're all set?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. All right.
And that's all we had for that item, Chair.
Okay, great. All right. We now will have time for disclosures and recusals. Members of the Plan Commission should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Do any commissioners have disclosures or recusals for tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes. I reviewed the minutes this afternoon, and I just wanted to make a note to add the presence of Alder Harrington McKinney, Alder Verveer, and Alder Pritchett to our last meeting's minutes, because those were, I think, inadvertently left off, and I think they kind of came in and out. But subject to that change, does anyone else have any additions or corrections to last meeting's minutes? All right, seeing none, and assuming that we can add those appearances to the document, could I ask for a motion and a second to approve last meeting's minutes as amended? Alder Ugair, thank you.
Move to approve with amendments.
Thank you. Commissioner Heck? Second? Thank you. Is there any objection to unanimous approval for last month's minutes? Commissioner Solheim?
I'll abstain.
Thank you. Commissioner McCahill?
Same.
All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. Any other objections or abstentions from the motion on the table to approve the minutes? All right, seeing none, we'll have those approved by the remainder of the board. Right. Schedule of meetings. Our next regular meeting is 2 weeks from tonight on February 16th at 5:30 virtually. And then for March, we also have meetings on the 2nd and the 16th of March, all at 5:30 virtually. Our first special in-person meeting of 2026 is going to be on Thursday, March 31st at 5 p.m. And that will be in room 206 of the Madison Municipal Building at 215 Martin Luther King Boulevard. So we'll make sure everybody's calendar's up to date. We will move on to new business, and we will start with our consent agenda. Tonight we'll have two consent agendas, one for items with public hearings and one for items being referred. So it's the custom of the Plan Commission to remove from the agenda those items on which staff members believe an application has been sufficiently reviewed to support approval with all of the conditions placed upon it by the various city departments, and where the applicant accepts all the conditions and there are no individuals who registered to speak in opposition to the item. So we'll use this, as I mentioned, we'll use a separate consent agenda for items that are being referred and don't require a public hearing. The items proposed for tonight's consent agenda for approval and in one case to be placed on file without prejudice are on the sheet before you. Those items are on our agenda: item 2, item 4, item 5, item 6, and item 7. And then item 14, which is recommended to be placed on file without prejudice at the request of the applicant. Of those items suggested for consent, are there any requests for separation? All right, seeing none, first I'm just going to read into the record the items for consent or approval. So the item 2 is Legistar 91149 related to 2401 Grimm Street in Alder District 12, consideration of a conditional use in the Suburban Employment SE District for indoor recreational skating, and it's a skating rink. Item 4 is Legistar 91288 relating to 6105 South Highlands Avenue in Alder District 19. And this is consideration of a conditional use in the traditional residential rustic TRR district for a building or structure exceeding 10,000 square feet in floor area to allow construction of a single family residence. Item 5 is Legistar 91295, and that is approving a certified survey map of property owned by Catherine A.K. McQueen, located at 1109 Seminole Highway in Alder District 10. Agenda item 6 is Legistar 91283. This would be creating section 28.022-00745 for the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 1936 Tennyson Lane from PD, Planned Development District, to SR-V2, Suburban Residential Varied 2 District. This is in Alder District 18. And then agenda item 7 is Legistar 91150, also related to 1936 Tennyson Drive in Alder District 18. Consideration of a conditional use in the proposed Suburban Residential Varied 2, SRV2, district for a multifamily dwelling with greater than 60 units. Consideration of a conditional use in the SRV2 district for an assisted living facility, congregate care facility, and skilled nursing facility. And consideration of a conditional use in the SRV2 district for a daycare center, all to allow an existing senior living facility to remain in conventional zoning and for a daycare center tenant to locate in the facility. Finally, for our approval public hearing agenda, we have item 14, which is Legistar 90936, which would have been creating section 28022-00743 of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 5025 Sheboygan Avenue from PD Planned Development District to amended PD GDP Planned Development General Development Plan District and create section 28.022-00744 to approve a specific implementation plan. And that was proposed for Alder District 11. And again, item 14, approval means that this item will be placed on file without prejudice. I will now open the public hearing and close the public hearing for these consent items and move to a vote. Could I ask for a motion and a second on the approval consent agenda? Alder Glenn, thank you. And Alder Field, thank you. Is there any objection to unanimous approval for this consent agenda? Seeing no hands. Wait, oh, maybe is there a hand? Hang on. Sorry about that. Alder Glenn, I think I still, yeah, okay, great. I think that was for the motion. So seeing no hands, we'll record the consent agenda with the public hearing as passed unanimously. Alder Glenn, yep.
I just wanted to say, I didn't want to interrupt the vote. I just wanted to, I know that, I don't know if usually with consent we have any talking. I just wanted to congratulate Samantha and Erica Brown on, they've been trying to open daycare for quite a while and find a place on the northeast side. And I just think it's exciting for a new daycare to come to the north side.
Thanks, Alder Glenn. Yeah, I think that's helpful. Sorry, my screens are jumping around and they don't look the way they usually do. So, Megan, maybe if I miss a hand, just please help me.
Will do. I was looking for my audio button. Sorry about that, Chair.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying. I don't somehow swap share. Anyway, all right. Sometimes I can make it pop out or pop back, but all right. So we'll go to the consent item for consent agenda for items for referral. And again, we'll start with agenda item 10. Is that, yeah, agenda item 10, which is Legistar. Thanks, Megan. Sorry. That's Legistar 90916, creating section 28.022-00742 of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 411 West Gilman Street from DC Downtown Core District to UMX Urban Mixed Use District. This is an Alder District 2. Agenda item 11 is Legistar 90614, also relating to 411 through 433 West Gilman Street in Alder District 2. Consideration of a conditional use in the proposed Urban Mixed Use District, UMX District, for a new building with greater than 6 stories, and consideration of a conditional use in the UMX District for outdoor recreation to allow construction of a 15-story mixed-use building with 2,550 square feet of commercial space and 260 multifamily units. And then item 12 is Legistar 90618, approving a certified survey map of property owned by LCD Acquisitions LLC located at 411 through 433 West Gilman Street in Alder District 2. And items 10, 11, and 12 are to be referred to our March 2nd, 2026 meeting. And then finally, agenda item 13 is Legistar 90803, relating to 7401 Mineral Point Road in Alder District 9, consideration of a conditional use for a major alteration to a planned multi-use site with 40,000 square feet or more of floor area, of which 25,000 square feet or more is designed as retail, a hotel or motel, and consideration of a conditional use in the Regional Mixed Use RMX District and Transit-Oriented Development TOD zoning overlay for a drive-through window for a restaurant. And item 13 is to be referred to our April 27th, 2026 meeting. So of those items, I would request, there is no public hearing because it's just a referral, and the public hearing will occur at the future meeting. I ask for a second to refer those 4 items. Commissioner Solheim, thank you. Commissioner Heck, thank you for the second. Is there any objection to unanimous approval for the referral consent agenda? And seeing none, we'll approve the referral. All right. That will bring us back to our regular agenda items. And we'll start with agenda item 3. This is Legistar 91287, relating to 506 through 518 East Wilson Street and 132 through 150 South Blair Street in Alder District 6. This is consideration of a conditional use in the urban mixed-use UMX district for an outdoor eating area open after 9 p.m. Consideration of a conditional use in the UMX district for an outdoor eating area with amplified sound. In consideration of a conditional use in the UMX district for outdoor recreation, all to allow an outdoor eating area shared by 3 adjacent restaurants to operate after 9 p.m. with live music and outdoor recreation, which is sand volleyball. So I think we'll start with a presentation from planning staff to orient us to the item, and then we'll move to the public hearing. Welcome, Planner Parks.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Plan Commission, and advanced apologies if I'm a little glitchy. My computer has been acting up since I joined the meeting, and I'm told it's just me. So, story of my life. Anyway, 506 through 518 East Wilson Street, 132 through 150 South Blair. Back before you once again for, I believe, the 4th year in a row. It's almost like a New Year tradition. And it is a request by the Comeback Inn, Essen House, and Up North to have outdoor activities in the rear of the buildings which front onto East Wilson Street, as well as in the parking lot, which is primarily accessed from Blair Street. This was before you last January 13th. Was approved with a December 31st, 2025 expiration date, which brings the requests back before the Plan Commission in a slightly modified format, and I'll get to that in a moment. But a refresher, they're asking for approval of an outdoor eating area that runs along the back of the Comeback and Essen House, as well as adjacent to the back of the Up North Pub. And the applicant is also asking for a stage with outdoor music on Sunday and Monday evenings from 4 until 9 p.m. And that would be from May 15th until September 15th. The resumption of sand volleyball, which would be 5:30 to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and from 12 to 9 on Sundays. And for 6 outdoor events or festivals to occur in the parking lot. As noted in the application materials, those events would run from 11 until 9 p.m. They would be potentially for weekends. And again, those potential outdoor events and festivals are outlined in the letter of intent. There are 2 layouts proposed: the seasonal summer layout, which is for everything but the 6 events. The 6 events would be subject to the event plan layout that are also attached to the legislative file. Similar requests were before you last year. One item to note, however, is a zoning code amendment that was approved last June 2025, omitted the restaurant, nightclub, and nightclub uses from the use tables throughout the zoning code. The Comeback and Essen House received approval last January of restaurant nightclubs because the establishments have an entertainment license or entertainment licenses pursuant to MGO 38.06. However, the text amendment struck the nightclub related uses from the code. And so uses like the Comeback Essen House and Up North are considered a restaurant or restaurants for zoning purposes as determined by the zoning administrator. Restaurants are permitted uses in the UMX zoning district, so the indoor components of the Comeback Essen House and Up North no longer are subject to the Plan Commission approval, just the outdoor stuff. As a reminder, outdoor eating areas associated with food and beverage establishments are conditional uses in the UMX district if they are open after 9 p.m. or if they have amplified sound. Both requests are before the body tonight. Outdoor recreation is and remains a conditional use in UMX. So staff has reviewed the requests put forward in a November 2025 application, and staff believes that following public input, that the commission may find the conditional use standards are met to reapprove the requests for outdoor eating and outdoor recreation, subject to a strenuous set of conditions of approval. The conditions of approval are very similar that are before the Plan Commission tonight to the ones that were before the Plan Commission last year, and similar to plan development SIP alterations that were reviewed by the Plan Commission in the years preceding the conditional use approvals last year. Staff is recommending some adjustments to the conditions that were before the Plan Commission last year. One that is consistent from last year and carried forward to this year is that only one performance space or stage should be allowed, which is similar to what we said last year, but that we want to work with the applicant to locate where that stage will be on both the summer seasonal layout plan and the event plan layout, because we did receive some concerns last year about where the stage was placed and how that affected the residential uses, primarily to the west, but also to the north. And one of the other conditions, sort of parlaying off of the siting of the stage, would be the direction where speakers are facing. As noted in the report, there are residential uses to the north of the parking lot, fronting onto Blair Street. There's also residential uses to the west, fronting onto South Franklin Street. We would like speakers, both fixed and portable ones, to be facing Blair Street to the extent possible, so that public address systems, amplifiers, etc., are faced away from the residential uses to the extent possible, and that in tandem with the location of where the stages are, we hope will address some of the concerns that have been shared historically about noise from the outdoor uses. We are also asking that the applicant clarify through this approval how they are going to provide notice for when the 6 outdoor events or festivals will be held. We kind of feel that the way that has been handled previously is a little ambiguous, and we're actually asking the applicant to on or before March 15th of every year, give the alder, the zoning administrator, and the director of the planning division or their designees the schedule of when the 6 events will occur in that calendar year, so that that can be better publicized, and that there's multiple ways, both through the alder and through city staff, for where that information will at least be held, so that we know in advance before that season starts when those events are going to occur. And also, if there have to be deviations from when that schedule submitted on or before March 15th is provided, how those changes can be handled through the alder, zoning administrator, and planning staff. Finally, the applicant has asked for, and staff is willing to consider us not doing this next year in making the conditional use approval that's before the Plan Commission for the outdoor recreation and outdoor eating areas, a 2-year approval for calendar years 2026 and 2027. The expiration would then be December 31st, 2027. Give the applicant the opportunity to have 2 seasons under the conditional use approval before they would have to come back before the Plan Commission. We feel that that would be appropriate and still gives the Plan Commission an opportunity to check in 2028, presumably, on those conditional uses and the conditions of approval, but make it so that next January or early February that we would have the opportunity, that they would have the opportunity to go forward without having to make a stop at the Plan Commission like they have this year, last year, and in the 2 years preceding that. So staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions that begin on page 9 of the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer questions after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. We have registrants for this item, so we'll open the public hearing. Again, as a reminder, to be fair to everyone, each registrant will have 3 minutes to speak, and I'll try to briefly interrupt to give you a warning when you're close to the time limit, either a minute or half a minute ahead of time. Director Tuttle, will you call the registrants wishing to speak?
Yes, Chair. I'll just note, typically we do hear from applicants. In this case, we have 2 members of the applicant team, Kevin Burrow representing Kenothi and Bruce Architects, and Robert Worm, that are both here registered in support and available to answer questions. So I'll just note that if you have questions for them later. The other registrant that we have wishing to speak tonight is Bob Judy on Franklin Street, registered in opposition and wishing to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome, Bob.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I would like to see this plan go to a 1-year review, spreading it out to 2 years. That opens it up for them to insert and tweak things to their favor, and we won't have a chance to revisit this. So I really think we have to have a 1-year plan and not extend it to a 2-year review. And also the amplified music should really be ending at 9 o'clock. That's the same time that we would like to see for like the volleyball and the food service as well. When you live in this neighborhood and you hear this loud music going on so many times, it really kind of destroys the atmosphere of a nice neighborhood. And I understand we need to support our local businesses, but they need to support the residents as well. So we need to go back to a 1-year review, and the noise and activities that disrupt the neighborhood need to end at 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, Chair, I'll just note that we have 2 other registrants registered in support but not wishing to speak. Those include Angie Gilner Scott of Monona and Nicholas Davies of District 15.
Thanks. All right. Do any commissioners have questions for any of the registrants, including those here to answer questions? I will then close the public hearing and ask if there are questions of staff on this item. We had a pretty robust discussion a year ago, so people may remember a lot of that. I guess I had one maybe clarifying question. I'll ask it real quick, Nicole, and then we'll have yours. Maybe for Tim. I was thinking that the amplification after 9 o'clock was only for the volleyball games and not for music. And I thought there was a distinction there. And I'm just wondering if that comes through in the report and the restrictions, or if I'm misunderstanding that.
Let's see. Yeah. The music on Sundays and Mondays is supposed to end by 9 p.m. There's no amplified sound allowed for the outdoor recreation after 9 p.m. Nightly. That's in condition number 2 on page 9. So they would have, they could have volleyball until 10:30, but no music or amplified sound for the volleyball after 9 o'clock.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. I think I said it all wrong, but that's helpful. Commissioner Solheim.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm, Tim, from what you said and what I remember from last time, that the stage location and speaker, the direction of the speakers that you were describing, that's a new addition for this year. Is that correct?
There was only one stage allowed for both plans last year, but the new element for this year and next year, depending on the Plan Commission's decision, would be the place or the faces of the speakers directed away or away from the residential to the extent possible and towards Blair Street, where there are industrial and office uses directly east or northeast, if you will, from the parking lot. We wanted to make that clarification this year. So it sounded like there were some issues based on where the stage was approved last year that sort of indirectly caused the speakers to be pointed towards Franklin Street in particular. That wasn't really the intent. The intent of moving or choosing the stage closest to Blair Street was to move it away. But when you consider where like the people watching or participating in the live music would be, that would put them in the parking lot basically between Franklin Street and the stage. And so the speakers are usually pointed to where the music where the stage is and where the people enjoying it are. So that was maybe a shortcoming of last year's slate of conditions. This year, we're going to try to see if we can thread the needle and put the stage and the speakers where they will hopefully least impact those residences, particularly on Franklin.
Okay, thank you. And then just one more clarification. Although this would be a 2-year approval, I did see a note in condition 2 that the alder may request an adjustment to the hours of operation for both outdoor eating and the recreation, the volleyball, during that time period. Is that correct?
That's a condition that we put in a lot of our conditional uses with outdoor hours, outdoor use, whether it's amplified sound or hours after 9 p.m., that there can be an opportunity to make adjustments. I can see where that might be causing some confusion. It's sort of a standard operating procedure condition. And frankly, that could be struck from the slate of conditions if the Plan Commission wanted. So, because I can see where it would be creating some confusion, and the speaker did point to, if it gets approved for 2 years, maybe wanting to know, or maybe how I interpreted those comments was knowing what the slate of conditions would be for those 2 years, and maybe that one comment at the end of the bullets in number 2 is maybe confusing that situation.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that it be struck. I actually thought it may be helpful that if it's not going well and there's a lot of issues, that there's some flexibility there. So thank you.
I'll just add to what Tim shared that as with all conditional uses, the Plan Commission does retain jurisdiction. So if there are problems, we are able to bring it back before you to consider what approaches could be taken to ameliorate those problems. And the reference to the alder here is referring to our typical, what we call our minor alteration process. So if there are changes requested after an approval is made, the staff do consult with the alder of the district in which the project is located to consider if those changes should be approved as a minor alteration or if there's something that should come back to the commission.
Thanks. Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. Just in the same vein, I want to understand if there's any sort of process related to requesting an alteration in that condition that you just mentioned. It's coming from the alder. If residents, let's say, contact planning staff or referred to planning staff perhaps saying, you know, this is not workable, could that initiate that continuing jurisdiction process, or does it have to come from the alder or staff?
Continuing jurisdiction is something that is complaint-based and compliance-driven. And that would be where we have the conditions of approval that would be established tonight, assuming the Plan Commission is inclined to grant the conditional uses that have been requested, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the staff report and ultimately the conditions that the Plan Commission decides upon, which could be different from the ones that are enumerated in the staff report. It would be if there is a violation of the conditions of approval that would bring the matter through the zoning administrator to determine if there's a violation. If there is a violation, then the Plan Commission, it's kind of a two-step process, and we haven't had one in a while, so I'm actually kind of walking myself through the continuing jurisdiction process. But there's first a complaint, and zoning would report to the Plan Commission that there is a complaint, and that the Plan Commission would then determine whether it wants to set a hearing for reviewing the conditional use. So first the violation, then the report, and then ultimately a public hearing where the Plan Commission can decide whether or not there is a violation of the conditional use and whether it wants to, modify the conditions of approval, or worst case scenario, the zoning code would allow the Plan Commission to revoke the conditional use. So if there is a complaint from the public, zoning would look, see if it's a valid complaint based on an investigation that they would do. They would report to the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission would then decide whether or not to set a hearing. If they do set a hearing, then there would be an opportunity for everybody to discuss with the Plan Commission whether or not they feel there should be a modification or revocation of the conditional use. And that was part of the reason why we still wanted to. The applicant asked for 2 years, and we said, okay, perhaps 2 years. That is up for discussion. The Plan Commission, could say, nah, we want to give it 1 more year and have it come back. And instead of in condition 1, where the expiration would be on 31 December 2027, they would presumably change that to December 31st, 2026, which means that in order for the applicant to have the outdoor recreation and outdoor eating areas in 2027, they would come back like they are tonight for 2026. They would do so again for 2027.
Okay, thanks. That was helpful. One more question. Tim, I hear you saying concerning the orientation of the speakers that they should face Blair to the greatest extent possible, but the condition of approval says shall face Blair. That doesn't sound like there's any wiggle room. How do you interpret that?
The wiggle room, I apologize if I shouldn't. I should have said shall in my verbal comments. Go by what's in the staff report, which is a shall. The thing that we have some flexibility on is where the stages are placed. That's where we're going to work with the project team. And that was something that came up during the review of the staff report where it was, we wanted to make sure that we were not putting conditions against each other. So we're going to work on where the stage is. We are going to be more inflexible about the faces of the amplified sound producing devices. We want those to face to Blair Street, but where the stage on which those devices are located, that is what we have we're going to work with the applicant on.
Okay, thanks. That was good info. Those were my questions.
Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. Tim, so I reading the report and I see that there's 6 events, that this is for 6 events per year. Can you please clarify if I'm interpreting this correctly?
No, the 6 events are the special events like wedding receptions, reunions, items related to the Great Taste of the Midwest Beer Fest in August, the occasional Sanger Fest, which is noted in the letter of intent, or an Oktoberfest type event. So those 6 events are subject to the notification requirement to the Alder Zoning Administrator and Planning Division. They're subject to the event layout plan in the application materials. The other events, so the outdoor eating, the outdoor recreation, and the music on Sunday and Monday evenings from 4 until 9, from May 15th to September 15th would be subject to the seasonal summer layout plan and are distinct from those 6 special events that are outlined in the letter of intent.
So amplification will be used for the special 6 events and then twice a week from also a period of time from the summertime, or any
Yes.
time during the week? Just 2 times a week and the special events? Amplification.
Outdoor amplified sound can occur for the 6 events. It can occur for the music events on Sunday and Mondays from 4 until 9. And they also have speakers in their outdoor eating area and have had music historically for the outdoor recreation. Sand volleyball.
But is that, so are those part of the Sunday and Monday, or you mean like a daily music outside?
So they have outdoor music on Sunday and Monday nights. They have sand volleyball Sunday through Friday, differing hours, Monday through Friday until 10:30, until 9 o'clock, and through the afternoon on Sunday. There is outdoor amplified sound for the outdoor eating. The outdoor eating is open past 9 o'clock, hence the need for Plan Commission approval. The 6 events also have outdoor music, and those are the ones that have like the longer duration, 11 to 9 on the weekends, that would have to be published, told by the applicant to the Alder and Planning and Zoning staff.
I think we lost the Alder. Oh no, all right. Does that answer your question, Alder Figueroa Cole? All right, I think maybe it does. Any other questions for staff? Are we ready to move to a motion on this item? Commissioner Solheim, thanks.
I will move that the Plan Commission find the standards are met and approve the conditional use for 506 to 518 East Wilson Street and 132 to 150 South Blair Street to allow an outdoor eating area open after 9 p.m. and with amplified sound to serve 3 restaurants, and the conditional use for outdoor recreation subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Is there a second? Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Any discussion on the motion? Alderfield?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to note and recognize how much work went into the development of the conditions that I think kind of shape these uses to be a little more palatable. So I appreciate all of that work and thoughtfulness that went into those.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, Alderfield. Thanks. Any other discussion? Is there any objection to unanimous approval for the motion on the table? All right, the motion is passed. Thank you. Thanks, Tim. We will go now to our agenda items 8 and 9, which are related and will be considered as one public hearing, and separate findings and motions on each agenda item. So I'll start by reading the items. Item 8 is Legistar 91289. This relates to 2103 Sherman Avenue in Alder District 12. Consideration of a conditional use in the neighborhood mixed use NMX district for a mixed use building containing greater than 60 dwelling units, and consideration of a conditional use in the NMX district for a building exceeding 3 stories and 40 feet in height. Allow construction of a 5-story mixed-use building with approximately 1,100 square feet of commercial space and 87 dwelling units. Agenda item 9 is Legistar 91294, and this would be approving a certified survey map of property owned by 2211 Fordham Avenue LLC, located at 2103 Sherman Avenue in Alder. So we'll start with presentation from the planning staff, and welcome Planner Punt. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So tonight, now the Plan Commission is reviewing 2103 Sherman Avenue. The applicant here is seeking the necessary conditional use approvals to construct this 5-story mixed use building on a lot to be created by certified survey map. The applicant is requesting approval of conditional uses for the number of dwelling units in the mixed use building, as well as height in excess of the zoning district permitted use maximum, which is 3 stories and 40 feet in NMX, as you noted. The proposed building is considered to be 5 stories tall, as it is measured from the front facade as determined by the zoning lot. The front in this case being Sherman Avenue, though the building does read as 6 stories exposed along Fordham Avenue due to the slope of the site down from Sherman toward Fordham. While there is not a specific neighborhood plan recommendation regarding height, the neighborhood mixed use land recommendation in the comprehensive plan does recommend a maximum height of 4 stories. I won't go over all of the conditional use approval standards that I touched on in the staff report, but I will focus on standard 11, which pertains to the application for height in excess to that allowed in the district. The report analysis compared this proposal to 3 recent similar proposals of generally similar heights and plan recommendations, including 2 that did get approved by the Plan Commission and 1 that was placed on file. While the applicant has adjusted the design after discussions with staff and with the Alder in response to that feedback, especially regarding the inconsistencies with the plan recommendations about height, it still remains taller than what is generally recommended for new development in neighborhood mixed use areas. If the Plan Commission can find that standard 11 can be met, with the height inconsistency with the plan recommendation, staff believes that it should approve the conditional use requests. However, if the Plan Commission finds that the plan being the proposal being inconsistent with plans means that standard 11 cannot be met, or if any other standards cannot be met, staff then recommends placing the request on file. And of course, noting in the motion the findings regarding that standard and any others as necessary. Leaving the conditional use, staff does believe that regardless of those findings, the standards for land divisions can be found met, and the CSM could be forwarded to Common Council with a recommendation for approval. As always, after the public hearing, I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thanks, Colin. We have registrants for this item, so we'll open the public hearing. And Director Tuttle, if you could lead us through the registrant list, that'd be great.
All right, Chair. This evening we'll start by hearing a presentation from the applicant team who have requested to pool their time for a total of 9 minutes. We'll hear from Daniel Schwartz, representing Sarah Investment Real Estate, John Powers, also representing Sarah Investment Real Estate, and Brad Koning, representing Sketchworks Architecture.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. As was mentioned, I'm Daniel Schwartz. I'm the president of Sarah. We are a local East Side real estate company. We are our office in the 100-year-old bank building on Atwood and Winnebago, which we renovated 10 years ago and now has Rotunda Cafe in it. I've worked with a lot of the staff here on several projects. It's good to see everybody again, and we greatly appreciate everyone's time. As I mentioned, we're a local group. We have a lot of renters on staff in our Madison office here, including myself, who would love to live in a building like this. Just for background on Sarah, we're not a family office. We are merchant developers that are working with local investors who would like to see more housing here in Madison. So John Powers will also speak. He's from Powers Contracting. He's our owner's rep, also local to Madison. Brad Koning from the Sketchworks team in Middleton, and then Bruce is also available to answer questions from the D'Onofrio team on the west side of Madison. Just to orient folks on the site we're talking about today, this is 2103 Sherman. As was mentioned, this is the parking lot that is across from Webcrafters, obviously kind of a gateway to the north side with frontage on Sherman and Fordham, as well as the McGuire through street. This is currently a surface parking lot, so there's no displacement of any structures or businesses of any kind. This is adjacent to the Bonzo restaurant, Aaron and Natalie's restaurant, which we know and love, and we've been working with them throughout the process to make sure our building accommodates their needs. But this is not adjacent to any single family homes of any kind, which again, we think makes this a great site for development. As Colin mentioned, we're proposing a mixed-use building in accordance with the neighborhood plan, other than the height, which we're, of course, requesting a conditional use for. And we'll talk more about height later, but given that we are proposing 5 stories, I wanted to talk about our goal with the project, which is to deliver a dense and efficient building that we can price below other new builds. So this is not affordable housing, but we're hoping it can be attainable housing. And without density, we're unable to do that. And we're also unable to accommodate parking for the Bonzo folks as well if we aren't able to get the density to make the economics work. So we're hoping to help solve Madison's housing crisis in an attainable way. We think this would be a really great addition to the neighborhood, which we really believe in, and we're really excited about it. But of course, need your help to see it to fruition. So thanks for having us. I'll kick it over to John now to talk a little bit about the history with the site.
Hey, John Powers, working on behalf of Sarah Investment Real Estate for this project. For a little bit of background of just kind of the efforts of our team to get us to where we're at today. Started early, kind of last summer in July and August, talking with Colin, Jacob, city engineering, and other people at the city of Madison just to orientate ourselves to the site, kind of what their concerns would be of this, or what we're proposed in our thesis. Based on the feedback we got, we put together a set of plans for a first DAT meeting in early October. Initial plan was 6 stories. Again, it's obviously based on the feedback we got, that was an appropriate size, and more units we can put on the site, the more cost we can spread out across units, helping bring the overall needed rent price down. After that initial DAT meeting, I had a second meeting with Jacob and Colin to express just concern over height. And after that meeting, we made a group decision to bring it down to 5 to better fit or get closer to the suggested use of 4. This reduced our building by roughly 20 units, or a 13% reduction, which isn't ideal, but we felt it better fit what Colin was asking for and what the city plan was asking for, while still trying to maintain our thesis of having attainable housing in units at this location. After that, like Dan said, we met with the Bonzo owners, Aaron and Natalie. In that discussion, we identified that there was concerns with maintaining access to their restaurant and prep kitchen to the north. So we reduced our building footprint to allow them a drive lane, just because we want to be supportive neighbors to them and ensuring that just because we're building a building to their south, they can still operate in the manner of which they need to have their restaurant and prep kitchen run as it was before we build this. In doing so, that pulled away roughly 10% of our units from the previous reduction. We also have been working with them to try and provide parking stalls within our parking garage, which is a big thing that they've been asking us for, which we'd love to provide for them. But all the more reason that maintaining the proposed plan is important to make sure that we can work to maintain the stalls that would help them. And then we also had 2 neighborhood meetings in coordination with the alder to get neighborhood feedback. From that meeting, the large item that came up from the group was traffic, just the additional units that are put at this location and what it does to the drive lanes. After that meeting, traffic engineering reached out to us regarding step back along McGuire and increasing that step back by 3 feet for future improvements to that roadway. In doing so, that reduced our entire south elevation of our building, pushing back into parking structure and reducing unit sizes a little bit further. So a lot of background. Like I said, we've all to outline, we've tried to be accommodating in every way we can to not just the neighbors, but to the neighborhood requests and city requests to make sure that this building meets what the neighborhood wants it to, while still trying to meet our goal of providing affordable housing for people that want to live in this great neighborhood. So with that, I can hand over to Brad.
Thanks, John. If we can advance to the next slide, please. Here's a couple just examples of the site as it exists today. So the vacant parking lot that's shared by Web Crafters, and you can see Bonzo there, and the Mackenzie Place apartments kind of in the background there. Next slide, please. So I'll quickly review the architectural design considerations to show how this project is not only consistent with the comprehensive plan and adopted land use objectives identified by city staff. So just the conditional uses are intended to allow flexibility where site-specific conditions justify deviation. And I think this project introduces housing and neighborhood serving commercial in a designated mixed-use node of the city. The project scale and density reinforce the gateway character to the Sherman neighborhood. And the project also places residents on a transit corridor, which reaches as far as Epic and Verona and to the east, Cottage Grove. The use itself, a mixed-use development, not only is permitted but encouraged in this location by the comprehensive plan. And as a gateway project, we feel that its reasonable variation in height and density could be warranted based on these site-specific characteristics. So looking at the site specifically, topography played a large role in the design of the building, as John kind of had mentioned, along with the site constraints for setbacks and whatnot, and appeasing neighboring properties. But it's also bordered on 3 sides by street frontage, right? So it's increased setbacks were requested, like John said, widening McGuire Street. And then from Sherman Avenue to Fordham, the grade drops over
30 seconds left just to
Oh, geez. Okay. So the grade drops over 6 feet. So this allowed us an opportunity to split the parking level. So there's 2 parking levels. One is accessed off of Fordham and one is accessed off of Sherman. So what this will do is help traffic leaving and entering the site, for the neighborhood concerns. Next slide. Sorry. One other point to mention there is that we're also incorporating green roofs at the 2nd level. So there's a unique unit type for walk-ups facing McGuire Street. And then the residential building above is set back about 20 feet. So you can kind of see that off of McGuire Street.
Hey, Brad, I'm going to call time now, but there may be time for questions from the panel after the other registrants. So
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. As Daniel noted, there are other members of the applicant team that are available, notably Bruce Holler with Sarah Investment Group that's here and available to answer questions if the commission has any for him. And I'll also note that Steve Schulfer, who I don't believe is here representing the project tonight, is also registered for this item. Moving on to other registrants, we do have our first registrant is Robert Johnson of Sherman Avenue, registered in opposition and wishing to speak. I did get a note from Jesse, though, that I don't believe we see Robert Johnson on the meeting. So, Robert, if you are here under a different name, please make sure to change your name on the Zoom account to match the name that you registered with. Also, we'll note our next registrant is Jennifer Argelander of District 12, registered in opposition and wishing to speak. I believe the same note applies to Jennifer, that Jesse notified me that we do not see Jennifer here in the list of registrants. So if you're here under another name, please make sure to change your name to match that which we have registered. Next, we'll hear from Sarah Johnson of District 12, who's registered neither in support nor opposition and wishing to speak.
Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, yes. I just want to confirm that you can hear me.
Yep, we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to chime in on this development. I live at Mackenzie Place, and I fully support additional housing on the vacant parking lot. There's 2 things that I wanted to highlight, and I did include these in my written comments as well. One is I do think the size should be approximate to Mackenzie Place. I think that the 86 or 87 units is squeezing a lot on that lot. And the Mackenzie Place building fits the neighborhood, and I think accommodates the balance between wanting to have apartments and have housing and still complement the park and the residents that are around in the neighborhood. The second thing is my bigger concern, and that is the driveway that would exit towards Burroughs Park. That intersection is very problematic as it exists already, and putting a driveway that will face the intersection of Sherman, Harbort, and Warner and McGuire will just add additional traffic and additional congestion to that intersection. I walk my dogs multiple times a day in the neighborhood and always have to have a lot of caution at that intersection. And so I strongly encourage reconsideration of the placement of that driveway and the height and capacity of the building. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, our next registrant is Nancy Thayer Hart of Madison, registered in opposition and wishing to speak.
Nancy, your microphone is unmuted, so we should be able to hear you. Nancy, welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Out of respect for the time of all of you on the Plan Commission and others wishing to speak, I'm not going to repeat my written comments that I submitted. Hopefully most of you are already familiar with my reasons for objecting to this request for conditional use. Instead, I'd like to share a couple of recent observations that support the points that I made in writing. First, in other parts of Madison, I've noticed that when new apartment buildings interface with residential neighborhoods, they're rarely more than 3 stories tall. And if a building does go to 4 stories, portions of that building are reduced to 2 or 3 stories to mitigate the effect of a massive structure towering over the existing homes and existing buildings in the area. And just wondering, why can't our well-established neighborhood be given similar consideration? My second observation is that the concerns about adding massive numbers of cars to our local streets in this area are not hyperbole. From personal experience, I can tell you that traveling through downtown now takes at least 10 to 20 minutes longer than it did just 6 to 9 months ago. And if you multiply that by the number of cars likely to be introduced to our neighborhood if this project is approved at this size, I don't see how the Plan Commission can possibly say that conditional use approval standard 1 or standard 3 is satisfied. One last thing, I'm curious to whether any of you have noticed how gloomy downtown Madison now looks, even on sunny days, because all the tall buildings don't allow sunshine to reach the sidewalks. Even a 3 or 4 story building can have this effect if its footprint is the size of what you're reviewing tonight. That will certainly diminish the enjoyment of those who use Burroughs Park or who already live in the neighborhood in an easily foreseeable manner. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so just double checking here briefly. I do not believe that Robert Johnson or Jennifer Argelander have joined us. So I'll read the rest of the registrants. We have Don Lindsay of District 12, Rebecca Liedner of District 12, Kara Tolstead of District 12, Beth Slays of District 18, and Laura Vogel of Madison, who all are registered in opposition, not wishing to speak. We have Nicholas Davies of District 15, registered in support and not wishing to speak. I believe that's everyone, Chair.
Thanks, Megan. Sounds good. Thanks. Thanks for those who came out to speak on this item as well. I will. Yeah, I don't see those other registrants either. So I will ask the commission if you have questions for any of our registrants tonight. Commissioner Heck, thank you.
Thanks. I have a question for Sarah Johnson, please.
Yes.
Sarah, you were describing your concerns about the intersection there where one of the parking entrances and exits is proposed.
Yep.
I know that intersection well, having ridden my bike through there many a times. My impression is that the current confusion at that intersection is really on the lake side of Sherman. Those streets are a little bit unusual the way they intersect, and that my thought would be that cars coming and going into this building would be mostly turning right or left off of Sherman and not involving themselves in the kind of spaghetti that's on the more northern side. would you agree with that? That you know, it's mostly people who are coming and going through Maple Bluff and the neighborhoods there that cause the confusion. Would you agree with that?
I recognize what you're saying, and I see it a little bit differently, because I think adding traffic to that spaghetti junction, as you kind of described it, I think that will create more density of cars in that area, because that is one of the two ways of cars of the 40, I think it was 40 some parking spaces. So even if it's 20 cars, you know, going in and out, it's going to add cars to that intersection and create more people just trying to navigate through that. And you're right. Yes, I think it is problematic when people are coming down Warner and sliding right through that. What I also see is cars coming down Sherman, and everything connects at that same point. I was actually just walking my dogs today and noticing the driveway, the curb cut right now is right exactly where all of those roads converge. And I appreciate your point about being a cyclist, because I think it's cars, cyclists, people walking, all of it in that intersection. It all just comes together right at that point. And I do think, like Mackenzie Place pushes traffic to the more car-dense road, is Fordham Avenue. And Mackenzie Place right now, our driveway dumps onto Fordham. And I think that is the much more appropriate place to direct traffic, to direct it to McCormick, to direct traffic to Fordham Avenue, because that's the more car-centric border or boundary of the property. And the more pedestrian side of the property, keep the traffic off of that, because we don't need to add to what you were also explaining as a very confusing intersection.
Okay, I appreciate your additional information. Thanks.
Thank you for the follow-up questions.
Any other questions for registrants? All right, Commissioner Solheim.
I was just going to ask, I know we cut it off, but maybe just one more minute for the development team, 1 or 2 more minutes to finish the design slides in particular.
Sure. Brad, if you, that's kind of you. Brad, if you want to maybe kind of do your wrap up on the remaining slides on the presentation, that would be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll make this quick. And so if we could go to the slide deck and go to the elevations. I'll touch base just quickly on the elevations and then the comparison between the Mackenzie Place and this proposed development. So what we're doing on the elevations is we're breaking down obviously the facade with materiality that's consistent with the neighborhood. So we've got masonry at the base, cut stone, and then lap siding, 2 different colors of lap siding above as more of the residential areas. And that's in the green and the tan there. Masonry is kind of in the buff, and then the more of the, I'll say, reddish masonry that splits. And then I will say that we do have commercial space along Sherman Avenue, as well as one of the entrances into the parking. So predominantly, and that's where the Bonzo parking would potentially be as well. So parking that's on or coming off of Sherman will be focused mainly on commercial, additional parking potentially for Bonzo, and then yes, some residential. The majority of the residential cars will be exiting off of Fordham, and Fordham is the main entrance of the residential development. Next slide, please. Again, one of the other things, I'm sorry, can we go back 1 slide, please? One of the other items I wanted just to mention, there were some staff comments about extending some windows further down on the stair towers. And as you can see here, we were anticipating building signage to be placed in that area. So that would be one of the considerations if it's so to choose, but finding areas for signage. Sorry, next slide. again, just further elevations. Next slide, please. So then, yeah, so here we have a example of our building compared to Mackenzie Place. Obviously, the rendering is focused on the development, but you can see Mackenzie in the background as it goes along Sherman Avenue. And then we have the street front, I'll say street facade scape that kind of illustrates our building height, which is only at Sherman Avenue side 8 feet above Mackenzie Place, and that is kind of the distance between the two. So as you can see, the building, Mackenzie Place kind of steps up, and the topography also steps up. And so the proposed building is at the highest point, and then just marginally higher than Mackenzie Place. And again, given the dual parking structure condition and the commercial space that we have on Sherman Avenue increases the building height slightly to take part in that overall height. And then you've got 3 levels of residential parking. So again, we're trying to break down the elements of the facade to align with Mackenzie Place, both in materiality and the brick, as you can see, and then have the lap siding step back to accentuate, kind of the residential aspect and the residential materials that are consistent with the neighborhood. From a shadow and sight line perspective, one additional story from a shadow perspective is only placing it on commercial spaces. And as you can see, the width of that building, the width of the proposed building is significantly less than what Mackenzie has existing. So in response to, let's wrap up here. We talked a little bit about the streetscape along Sherman Avenue. It illustrates the scale of Mackenzie Place to the east as it relates to the proposed mixed unit development. I think the increase in the height is a natural progression from east to west. And then the topography of the street also rises, like I said, along Sherman Avenue, which also contributes to the overall distance and the height between the two projects. I think the standards, as staff has mentioned, meets the conditional use standards for 1 through 6 and 8. I think standard 11 can be met based on the contextual considerations that we've talked about: topography, location, significance as a kind of a gateway project as it enters. We've tried to work with the neighboring properties like Banzo and the city for increased setbacks to maintain the density that this project needs to be sustainable. I think we're trying to advance the project to meet citywide housing goals and sustainability, and then support the project by adequate parking, not only for the residences, but for commercial, both on our site and adjacent, while all responding to, the topography of the site and the location of where it's at. So thank you for the opportunity for me to finish that presentation.
Thanks, Brad. Any other questions for registrants? And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and offer the same opportunity for questions of staff. Alder Uguier.
Thank you, Chair. All my questions are going to be for Planner Punt and with regard to condition 11. And let me just start by saying that I really appreciate the extensive discussion in the staff report on condition 11 and the relationship to those 3 other recent decisions that we made, 2 finding conditions met and 1 not. I was there for 2 of those 3 at any rate, and do recall the conditions. Well, first of all, a quick one. Did Mackenzie Place require a conditional use exception for density or height?
I believe the Mackenzie Place is zoned NMX, the same as this site. So that same requirement, 3 stories, 40 feet, and the building is 4 stories. So it does have a conditional use for height.
Okay, thank you. So second, and this was mentioned by the development team, the need to satisfy ourselves with regard to condition 11 is that we could say from the staff report that we don't really have, as I read it, any equivalent to the reasons why we were able to approve 2 of those projects. It almost seems with regard to the situation, this would be more like the 3rd one where it was denied. But the need for us to find, in quotes, contextual considerations to be able to say that it should be reasonable to do this, something more specific, I guess, for the location or other considerations than just financial need or the city's need for housing, which it would seem to me that if we were going to look at financial viability and city need, that it gets into a problem area with regard to the importance of the land use in the comprehensive plan and or the zoning. Could you just talk a little bit more about contextual things that we might be able to grab a hold of here that would allow us to think about reasons why we could accept something that's so significantly different than the land use or the zoning?
Yeah, I can try, and I will I will refer the commission back to my staff report for the majority of the discussion here. But I think since you brought up those few other examples that I discussed, one of the major differences in a few of those is that there was additional guidance from neighborhood plans or special area plans. The location on Sirloin Strip, which was the proposal that was placed on file, had very specific height recommendations for that location in the South Madison plan, and so that I think made it a lot easier for the Plan Commission to come to a decision because of that guidance from the plans. In this case, there is an underlying neighborhood plan here, but does not provide any actual recommendations for height. There is a concept plan for the area, but that concept plan actually includes moving McGuire in a location that I think would cut right through Mackenzie Place. So that's kind of out the window already. I think if we're looking at context, in this case, Mackenzie Place is certainly a shorter building. It is 4 stories, but it is also quite a large building. I think one of the other things with context in this particular situation is that it is across the street from Web Crafters, which is an industrial use, an employment use that is recommended for continued employment use in the comprehensive plan. And, I would assume that's going to continue for some time. So if there are considerations about the impacts of the height that this proposal may have, at least on one side of the of the property, those are going to be pretty mitigated by the fact that that's a very large industrial user.
Thank you. And final question, just it's always a struggle. We want to find more housing, but we would like to give reasonable credence to our comprehensive plan and our zoning. What would a developer need to do, or the Common Council, to alter the underlying land use and or adjust the zoning so that a building like this could be done without a real issue under condition 11?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think there are a number of changes to the zoning that could be pursued that would be consistent with the land use recommendation in the comprehensive plan. None of those, though, I think kind of give a lot of options for additional height in this situation with the neighborhood mixed use, the NMU land use recommendation. There's some of the other zoning districts that could go to is traditional shopping street, TSS. I think that would work, but that's not going to give them that much more permitted height. And we would still be looking at a conditional use in this situation. The other option is to amend the comprehensive plan, which is something that we as staff typically don't encourage. It is a very time-consuming and high-effort undertaking that does require us to do a large number of meetings and notifications to other entities, to other municipalities, and so it's not something that we take lightly, changing the underlying plan. And you know, we really only do it every 5 years when we open up the comprehensive plan. This area is going to be part of the, I believe this is the Near East neighborhood plan, which will not be undertaken for a few more years. So at that point, we can look at land use recommendations again. But like I said, that's a few years out, and if I'm sure Megan knows when that will actually happen.
Thank you. Those answer my questions.
Thanks, Alder. Any other, Megan, did you want to add to that?
I think that Alder's question seems satisfied, but if there are any other questions about our process for updating our comprehensive plan or the area plans, I'm happy to help answer.
Great. Questions from the commission, or are folks ready to? Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you, Chair. For Planner Punt, just I want to revisit this concern from the public about traffic. So as I'm looking at this map, and please correct me if I'm wrong, some of this is actually going to be Maple Bluff and not the City of Madison's jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Maple Bluff is more or less directly to the west of this site, and then Burroughs Park to the northwest would be the City of Madison, and then everything on the east side of Sherman Avenue would be City of Madison.
Okay. Are there any avenues for the City of Madison to work with Maple Bluff to try to help ameliorate some of these concerns in that junction? It does look like there's a lot of streets converging in that one corner.
Yes. Two things I think are happening right now. So first of all, there's a portion of Sherman Avenue that is scheduled for reconstruction. I believe that is in 2027. Although it might be later this year. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact date. The other thing is that I know that the Village of Maple Bluff is looking at updates to their own comprehensive plan. They have already, their consulting planner has already reached out to our planning staff to discuss. So it may be something that we can have a dialogue with that between municipalities about those traffic issues.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Alder Glenn.
Yeah. This is for Colin. I'm just looking at it, like looking at density. Can you talk a little bit more about when we're talking about the density of changing and the approval with the it being so compact in the area?
Sure.
For normally the 60 units that's kind of going around, and then I see that they changed it to change the bedroom side, but I just wanted to hear a little bit more from your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll go back to the comprehensive plan first. Neighborhood mixed use generally recommends up to about 70 units per acre. I think the density in this location is around 110 or 115 or so units per acre. The 2018 and 2023 comprehensive plans really tried to focus more on height and bulk of new development and move a little bit away from density as an arithmetical analysis, mainly because a lot of things can really impact density and make a huge difference. You can have a building full of 2 and 3 unit or 2 and 3 bedroom units and have the exact same number of people that are in a building full of studios and 1s and 2s, and the density will appear to be much smaller. So I know in this building there's a lot of 1-bedroom units and some 2-bedroom units, and I think only a single 3-bedroom unit. So that I think the density, the residential density, seems to be a lot higher. I think the discussion about bulk and height are really what impact the neighborhood a lot more than that actual residential density does.
Thank you.
Thanks. Alder Matthews, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Colin, this kind of, I think, is a little bit a follow-up to Carmela's question, but can you speak at all to kind of the unique qualities and restrictions of this site, especially compared to the Mackenzie Place site? Like, is that site larger than this site? How like the setbacks and the considerations with it being 3 streets abutting it, how that impacts the available space for building.
Sure. Yeah, I can attempt to talk to that. I think there's a few things. Obviously we have already talked about how the Mackenzie Place building is quite long. It is a larger site, but we need to make sure we're treating all of these sites individually as they are. I think there's maybe 3 other site characteristics, I'll call them, that really shape the way that this building or any building on this site is going to work. And one of those is the slope from Sherman Avenue down to Fordham Avenue. I don't anticipate any sort of design not using that slope and ending up with Fordham appearing to be one additional story than Sherman Avenue is. That's going to happen, I think, regardless. The fact that there are 3 street frontages on this also makes the identification of setbacks and yards for the different lot lines a little bit difficult. In this case, the applicant, in working with the zoning administrator, identified Sherman Avenue as the front, and so Fordham Avenue becomes the rear yard. And then you have 2 side yards which face Bonzo and McGuire. Those yards can be changed around depending on the design of the building in consultation with the zoning administrator. But I think the layout that was identified here again is probably the one that I think most proposals on this site would end up at. And then finally, just the site is not very deep if you're looking at it from McGuire. And I think one of the things that I noted in the staff report is having access to the restaurant to the north was something that came out of a lot of discussion. I know you obviously were involved in those discussions, but I think that really helps maintain the ability to have the rest of the block function, which really speaks to standards 3 and 4, which I didn't spend a lot of time on in the staff report, but it allows those uses to continue as they are, despite that, kind of that narrowness of the site.
Thanks. Alder Field.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question for Colin, and I want to reiterate the appreciation for the thorough analysis and comparisons in the staff report. When I'm thinking about standard 11 for excess height and this question of context that we're trying to think about, I noticed that in the comprehensive plan, the generalized future land use recommendation for the cluster of parcels south, so like further down the triangle formed by these two main streets, Fordham and Sherman, is medium residential, MR. And so if I'm remembering correctly, that's up to 5 stories. So I'm wondering, I suppose, if when thinking about this question of context and looking at 5 stories here, if it would be appropriate or justifiable to consider not just the 1-story building that's there today, but also the possibility of an up to 5-story building on the parcel immediately to the south.
Yeah, I think if a landowner or developer or applicant was interested in the land on the other side of McGuire Street, a rezoning to a residential district that fit within that MR land use recommendation, and the construction of a 5-story residential building is certainly within the realm of possibilities, and I don't see that there would be a lot of plan inconsistency with that. So I think that the Plan Commission could certainly take that into account.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks, Alder Field. Alder Matthews.
Thanks. I just got a message from one of the constituents who had registered to speak that they're having trouble getting into the meeting, I believe. And I just was wondering if it's possible for them to still speak if they're able to get into the meeting, or if that wouldn't really be possible.
So we could reopen the public hearing if we did have 2 folks who had registered to speak and were not on our attendee list at the time. But so anyway, I don't know if it were one of those 2, we'd probably want to entertain that. I don't know. Jesse, is there? I guess I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Alder, do you know if they have been able to get into the meeting using a phone number or another way?
They're saying that they are listening but can't sign in. So let me just ask them. Or what name they would be. Otherwise, I could forward them a link if there were one of those.
Jesse, do you have any help you could provide here to the applicant about how they might be able to resolve?
They're saying their name should say Argelander, Argelander.
Have they confirmed that they were able to get into the meeting? I don't see anybody with that name.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we did receive several written comments, which I know were considered by the group, so I don't want to.
Do you know if they are on a phone or if they are on a
Yeah, they
computer?
just sent their cell phone number. Can I send that in a chat to someone to check, or do I don't?
Yes, you could.
I have to say it.
Alder, you could email it to me and I could check to see if that's the number that's
great.
here.
I will email it to Megan right now.
Okay, it does look like we have, this is, let me pull up the registration list. Yes, to Jesse's question, let me just read the name here very briefly. Jennifer Arglander of District 12, who's here on a phone number, Jesse.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
but before we do that, Chair, we should take a vote to reopen the public hearing, if that's the will of the body.
Yep, that sounds. Is there any objection from the commission to reopen the public hearing to allow speaking? And I guess if you object, raise your hand, and if you don't object, then we'll do that briefly. All right, thank you. So we'll reopen the public hearing to allow one of the registrants to speak who couldn't previously or wasn't in the meeting previously.
Okay, so this is Jennifer Arglander of District 12, registered in opposition and wishing to speak.
All right. Jesse, how does she unmute herself on the phone? Is there some numbers to punch?
Yeah, I just sent the prompt to them, so they should have that information.
Thanks.
I think *6 also mutes and unmutes on phone.
Yep. Yeah. I think we may have lost her again.
Yeah.
It appears to be that way, yes.
Is the case.
All right. All right, Matthews, any feedback on your end that would be helpful?
Let me look right now. And then just one other thing, I also had an email from Aaron from Bonzo that he had registered not to speak, but just to be available to answer questions. So he didn't hear himself as part of the registrants. So, oh, okay. I'm getting from that. So maybe I can.
My apologies. Yes, Aaron Collins of District 12 is registered neither in support nor opposition and available to answer questions. Thank you, Alder, for flagging that.
Oh, now you're. Oh, she's. Well, it's not super late, but if anybody would like to take a recess and see if we can get this sorted, if you want a bio break or something, just raise your hand and we can do that. But I also think we can stay here. So.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold her up to my earpiece and see if that works. Okay. Can you try talking now?
Okay. Can anyone hear me? Is this okay?
I'm getting thumbs up. Oh,
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry about the confusion here. I usually get in okay. But basically, I have to oppose this because of the density and the height. We've been through this all with Mackenzie Place as far as we were promised nothing more than 4 stories in the future. The traffic pattern will be awful. I have to cross that area all the time with my old dog. Just the whole lighting issue will be bad. And the fact that you're going to try to put businesses on the main floor. We were forced to do that with Mackenzie Place, years, empty, nothing rented. And we had to turn it into apartments. So I don't think businesses are a good idea, and I really don't want it as tall. We need to keep this, and the park is a quiet place, and we ought to respect the environment there. So I'm very against this. I hope you really think about this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Alder Matthews, for facilitating that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and while this is reopened, I will just note that after the meeting began, there was another registrant, Nick Smith of District 12, registered in support, but not wishing to speak on this item.
Megan, is there just an updated, well, that's okay. I'll leave it. So thank you. Are there any questions? Well, I'm not sure we have the ability to ask Jennifer questions. So if there are any questions for registrants, you have one last shot at that before I reclose the public hearing. All right, seeing no hands, we'll reclose the public hearing. There is still opportunity to ask staff questions, and unless the commission is ready to move toward a motion. And these are conditional uses, so we would be approving or placing on file, I think, are our best options. Commissioner Solheim, thank you.
Okay, I'll take a shot at this, although the first one the CSM?
Yes, sorry. Item 8 is the conditional use for the number of dwelling units, the height, and then, yeah.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I was looking at
the storage.
Had them flipped.
Yep.
So related to item 8, I will find that the Plan Commission find the standards for conditional use are met and approve the necessary conditional uses for the proposed 5-story mixed-use building, subject to the conditions in the staff report. I'll specifically note that standard 11 is met. I find that this is generally consistent with the comprehensive and neighborhood plans, although it is more dense and taller than the comprehensive plan. It was not specifically called out in the neighborhood plan, and I do believe that this addresses the goals for a neighborhood mixed use area and contributes to the desired neighborhood mixed use node that is called out in the plan. And I can expand on that a little bit more as well.
Thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Alder Field, thanks for seconding the motion. There is time for Commissioner Solheim, maybe you'd like to speak a little bit more to your motion, and then we can see if there's discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Thank you. Again, noting that I think this varies from the one that was mentioned in the staff report on Sirloin Strip. For me, because it was not specifically called out in terms of height in a recent neighborhood plan, as it specifically related to adjacency to a residential area. There was a concept plan and a neighborhood plan that I reviewed that did show four stories. However, that concept plan also showed the demolition of Bonzo and taking over the office building that is next door. So I think that this concentrates the housing on the vacant parking lot, but retains the commercial space in Bonzo and the office building. I also think that the context surrounding the area, being surrounded by commercial uses in the park, is important for this consideration, including to Alderfield's point about the future planning to the south, which is mixed residential, which would be allowed to have a consistent height with this building.
Thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Any other discussion, questions? Alder Uyghur?
Thank you, Chair. I have to say that I struggled most of the day on trying to figure out how we could satisfy condition 11 with regard to density and height. I want to thank Alderfield because I find that the land use in the land of the South is very helpful in my thinking in terms of understanding future permitted uses that would be of comparable height. Likewise, the comments from staff that at least if we can imagine a long future time that we would have the industrial use to the south that's not going to be impacted by this and so forth. I thought that the applicant's comparison to the massing of McKenzie Place was helpful in considering this, as well as some of the other adjustments that were made during their process of coming up with the plans before us. So after wondering most of the day if I should be putting in a motion to put this on file, I'm going to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder Uyghur. Alder Glenn?
Yeah, I agree with Alder Uyghur. I did not know how I was going to vote up until I listened to actually Commissioner Solheim even describe in the why and Alderfield talking about future. As someone who really wants to see housing and housing that is affordable, but also not in the sense of also having some market rate to it. We need that. Northside has a really great amount of affordable, what would be considered quote unquote market rate housing. But we also need more of it. We also have quite a bit of affordable, and I really wanted to see more come into the area to be able to build up, attract those businesses that we hear that McKenzie Place kind of struggled with. And I think this is different than even a couple years ago due to being close to Bonzo. And yeah, and the condition can be met. I think the future of the north side is going to have people sometimes struggle with. I also think that where it sits at is a beautiful area. I saw some of the outside of it and how it's going to be built to blend in with the neighborhood, which I think is so important. But yes, so I will also be approving it and think the condition has been met.
Thanks, Alder Glenn. Commissioner Heck? Nope. You're still muted.
Thanks. I agree with those who spoke before me, but I just wanted to add for those who gave public comment about concerns about traffic. I understand your concerns. As I said, I use this intersection along Sherman often, but I really think that the amount of increase in traffic will barely be noticeable. 40 cars at most would be leaving this building if half of the parking stalls were to exit there. But they're not all leaving at once. There's many are not leaving. And I really don't think it's going to be particularly noticeable. And many buildings that we approve are bigger than this, have a lot more cars, and even then the traffic analyses show that it's not something that's going to change the current condition by a great degree. But we heard you. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Alder Matthews.
I just wanted to also thank all the speakers and folks that emailed and all the folks that came to the 2 public meetings. They are not very represented here tonight, but there were some positive comments that came out of the public meetings. And I do also want to point out, I think the developer mentioned it, but this is on one of the bus lines, which is also a really great thing for the area. But what really I think was the most impactful for me is that they were willing to work with Bonzo to put in this driveway. I know as a pretty brand new alder, I think Bonzo had reached out to me and I sent, Megan and other planning staff probably what was a very obnoxious email with like screenshots of Google Maps, because Google Maps shows a full street going through that parking lot. And that's obviously, that doesn't matter for the city, but, I, with my more limited experience, but still having worked with several developers and witnessed a lot of projects with developers, I think that their willingness and their proactive willingness to work with Bonzo on this and to give them part of their land that they did not have to do, or create a part of their land that is specifically for the use of Bonzo is not something that I just think it should be mentioned, like that they were seeking that out even before they came to me for this project. And as soon as I pointed it out in their initial plans that they showed me, they were like, okay, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll change this before your meeting that's in 8 days or something. It was maybe 2 weeks, but still. So I just wanted to share that as well. I would be very worried, and again, not as experienced as all of you explicitly, but I would be worried that a future project would not necessarily be this willing to work with the surrounding neighbors in that way. And so that is, yeah. But thank you all for.
Thanks, Alder Matthews. Yeah. I think we'll call the vote and we'll start with, is there any objection to unanimous approval for the motion on the table regarding the conditional use permit or applications? All right, seeing none, that item is passed. We next need to deal with item 9 on our agenda, which is the certified survey map for the lot. Commissioner Solheim, thanks.
I'll move that the Plan Commission find the standards for land division are met and forward the CSM to council with a recommendation of approval subject to conditions in the staff report.
Thanks, Alder Uguer. Thanks for the second. Any discussion on the CSM motion? Seeing none, is there any objection to unanimous approval for that item? Seeing none, that item is also approved. So thanks to everyone who came out and provided comment and for the discussion tonight. That brings us to our numbered agenda item, or the end of our numbered agenda items, and we now would go to member announcements, communications, or business items. Any of those things from the commission? Seeing none, I would just ask that we have our in-person meeting coming up near the end of March, which will be here before we know it, and maybe it'll warm up a little even. If you have ideas of things that would be good subjects or presentation topics for our special meetings, I would just encourage you to send them in an email to me or to me and Megan, and we'll kind of put them in the idea hopper as we start to form those agendas. And appreciate you doing that. And you also feel free to, well, anyway, if you wanted to get to talk on the phone or get together, that'd be fine too. But definitely want to talk about things that people are interested in. So this is all of our time, and so let's make the best use of it we can. I will now just move to the secretary's report, and Megan, you have the floor.
Great, thank you. I'll just add to what the chair was saying about topics for our first special meeting this year. We'll also go back. I do have a short list that's been shared with us, so we'll go back and review that and chat about it with Emily as well. We are currently anticipating one item, which will include a bit of an update on the Housing Forward initiative from last year, specifically focusing on one of the longer term items that was announced last year related to the zoning for, we call it single family planned development districts, and talk to you a little bit about what process could look like to evaluate neighborhoods that were developed using that mechanism and the potential for bringing them into conventional residential districts. So we'll share more about that at that special meeting, but certainly want to echo what the chair said, that if you have questions or ideas, feel free to reach out to both of us as well. Do you have a question about that, Commissioner Solheim?
I just wanted to note, because I was staring at this for too long, that our agenda and the schedule of meetings notes that it's Thursday, March 31st, but it's actually a Tuesday.
Oh, great. Thank you for that. We'll make sure that gets updated on future agendas. Thank you. So moving on to other items under the Secretary's report, want to note that there is an amended elected and appointed officials code of conduct that was adopted by the City Council at the end of last year. You may remember that the Chief of Staff for the Council Office came to present on this maybe close to a year ago. It was sometime early in 2025 to just update you on the pending updates that the Council was considering. That was ultimately adopted at the end of the year, and we've provided a link to the updated code of conduct for you here in the agenda. So when you have a moment, please take a look at that. We'll also make sure that the next time we update your Plan Commissioner policy and procedure guide, that we include an updated link to that as well. There's a longer list of items under recent Common Council actions, but as you look ahead to our next meeting in February, we are anticipating a shorter list of items. We've had a number of referrals you've probably noticed in our last few meetings, just as applicants continue to navigate all the processes that they need to get a project ready for your review. So we have a shorter list of items that will be on our agenda for February 16th. One of the more notable ones that I'll just mention here is for 437 South Yellowstone Drive, which will be a conditional use for a 6-story mixed-use building with a small amount of commercial space and 130 dwelling units. I will also note for that meeting that I will not be in attendance. Kevin Verkow, who is our principal planner that leads the development review section, will be in attendance along with any of the staff that will be present to present those projects to you. I think that's all I have for tonight, Chair.
All right, thanks. Any other questions or comments for Megan? Seeing none, could I ask for a motion and a second to adjourn? Alder Glenn, thanks. Alder Field, you got in a second. Any objection to unanimous approval for the motion to adjourn? And seeing none, we'll stand adjourned, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.